So much for having me, everyone. So happy to be here. Thanks to the Aquatics Committee for thinking of me to include in this roundtable. So I've prepared a few slides of items that I would like to discuss, and I want to start by introducing myself for those of you who don't know me. My name is Katie Crysdale. I'm based near Calgary, Alberta, up in Canada, so it's quite cold right now. And my background is just like you. I started as a lifeguard. I worked my way up to facility manager. And then in the last few years, I've moved over from teaching just programming, working in aquatic facilities, to also teaching full-time. I'm a lifeguard instructor trainer, swimming instructor trainer, master instructor trainer here in Canada. I also teach pool operator courses like Broody, and I also work directly with clients solving their pain points. And so when looking at the topic for today's session, looking at maintenance, looking at summer startup, I mean, we have to, we're all sick of hearing it, but we really do have to look at the elephant in the room. And that is COVID-19 pandemic is still ongoing, as well as a constantly shifting day by day political climate in your community. And so looking ahead to the summer, I know we in aquatics, we're doers, we're go-getters, we like to keep the pace moving along. We need to be busy. That is how we cope. That is how we ensure that our pools are ready for the summer. So when somebody says go, we have a plan. And this year is different. This year is like a little bit like 2020, but it's still different from the many, many seasons we've all spent in this industry. And so where I really want to encourage you to focus your efforts in the next couple weeks or months, depending on where you are located in the United States and your summer startup, that could be coming up very, very quickly here in March in the southern climates. It could be closer to May or Memorial Day in the northern states that border Canada, just like us. And I really want you to spend a lot of time on the prep for your startup. I'm not actually saying more time on the startup. I'm saying more time on the prep. And so we love our checklists. We love our to-do lists. We love our action plans. We are all guilty of putting those on paper. And so this is the year that you need to make the leap to online for your summer startup. I'm not suggesting your daily checklist, your weekly checklist, your monthly checklist. I'm just talking about mapping up your preseason and then eventually your postseason on an online software, whether it's Asana or Trello or Monday. This is the year to do it. And the reason is because things are going to change. Let's be honest. They still change every week. They still change every month. By doing it online, you're going to be able to assign deadlines. You're going to be able to roll things over. You're going to be able to move things around, copy and paste. This kind of task is really going to make you nimble to adjust what you're doing. I'm old school. I was on paper until a few months ago, and I've started putting my business directly into a software like Asana, and it has been a game changer. And so looking at your summer startup, looking at your tasks, now is the time to break them down really, really, really small. Thinking about maybe I don't have guards, maybe I don't have staff with any continuity who know the facility. What about if I have a janitor who needs to sweep out the pool before we rinse out the pool, before we partially fill the pool, before we run the pool? Those are all micro tasks that we can break down into a software. Whatever you want to use, you may have something directly through your workplace, but that micro breakdown of steps and mapping out your preseason is really going to give you that flexibility, especially when we get closer to the actual seasonal startup and your council, your administration is looking at the cost of operating this summer. We have to be honest and say that some pools will not run this summer. It will not be affordable for some municipalities or some communities to run their pools. And so you better have a strong idea of what it costs to start up this summer, as well as all of the maintenance associated with it. I also talked to a few people that are very concerned about maintenance deferred from 2020 and then having it get lost in the mix in 2021. If you map it out in a software where you can move things around into seasonal, maybe biannual projects, this is really going to broaden your accountability to yourself. And then you can start to incorporate team members if you want, or you can just stay at a free basic plan, print it out, and go from there. This is really a game changer in my opinion. And now is the time to implement it because you might be working from home, you might be working remotely. Now is the time to do this. We need to be realistic. Okay, we are 10, 12 months into this experience, and I have to be honest and say that 2021 in some ways is not going to be any better. I'm not going to sugarcoat the reality that some pools will not open. There will be layoffs, there will be permanent shutdowns, there will be facilities that don't make this budget year. And so you need to look at what is the minimum level of service? What is the minimum level of programming? What is the minimum level that your community can take and that you can tolerate as either a programmer or facility manager? And then you need to break that down into modular. You could take it a step further and say basic service, intermediate service, higher levels of service, but do not look to 2019 as a paradigm. You need to strip it down to basics. A lot of these communities are going to be having conversations about if we can even afford to open. Do we need to cut the season? Do we need to restrict the season? Do we need a lower level of service? And that is going to be specific to your region, the political atmosphere, as well as the financial implications of this pandemic. So that is going to be very regional, and you better have those minimums ready so that you know what you can stand on and what you can actually do specific to your location. Okay, and document everything. I know this is a big thing. You need to document, like it might be read in a deposition, or like there might be a council complaint about something associated with the pool. Bridget, could you advance? Also going to encourage everyone to take a look at 2020. So this past summer, if you opened, if you didn't open, now is the time to really look at what worked, what didn't, what plans that you developed are not going to work in 2021, and what can be rehabilitated or amended or changed. 2020, even if you opened, even if you offered lessons, even if you had free swim, even if you did lifeguard training, I guarantee you 2021 is a different beast. And I'm sorry that a lot of people are coping by taking 2020, moving it to 2021 and thinking we're good. The reality is this is a constantly shifting situation. And by doing your planning in an online software, you won't feel like you have as much sunk cost into throwing something out. You're not going to have to rip up the piece of paper. You can move it around, juggle it, reassign it. There's not a specific software that I recommend. I'm recommending a work software for team collaboration. That is the big difference, I think, from when we talk about maintenance software. Many of you are thinking about life cycle maintenance, or you're thinking about inventory management of equipment, or you're thinking about asset management in a municipality. I'm not talking about a $5,000 software. I'm talking about a website or a service, such as Asana is what I use. I use the free plan, or you can pay $10 a month and it's hosted in the cloud. There's an app, you can update tasks on your phone, you could do it through your desktop, you can integrate it to your calendar, and it's not pool specific. And that means it's more affordable. And I find it has actually a lot more versatility to do what we need. So anybody else who's used any sort of team collaboration software, put that in the chat box. What are you guys using? Somebody out there is using these softwares. Let us know what softwares you like. But I definitely recommend that you look at 2020 and say what worked, what didn't. Now let's plan 2021. Last thing I want to say is make sure that you're not getting caught up in your own personal professional goals. Often we have these visions for our facilities. We want them to be the best or the safest or the best level of service or all of these things. We need to draw back to the basics right now in the current climate and say, what is our mandate? What does our job description require? What is the service level that our organization proposes? Are we a nonprofit? That service level is perhaps lower than a country club with high member dues. And so you need to separate what you want to do as a person, an aquatic professional, what your goals and vision are, from the reality of your accountability to the organization, to your ratepayers, to your members, and stick to what we have to do in this shifting climate.